biohacking, performance, mastery, mindset, holistic health. This is a show about getting better every single day. I'm on a mission, guys, to help over 1 million people get healthy and lose weight. Why? Because when you lose weight and get healthy, you have higher self-esteem. You have more self-confidence. And that person goes out and crushes their goal and starts living the highest version of themselves, and then they have way more impact on the world. Haywire. Hey, there I am. Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I do a special weight loss Wednesday show. And the reason is this, is I want to start this conversation about metabolic health, and I want to help people, and I want to reach as many people as I can. The other thing is this, I go live for a reason. You guys want to interact with me. You want to ask me questions. You want to throw some comments at me. Please do that. I'm here. That's what I want to do. And I want to do more of this. And so really what I'm going to get in today is I'm going to talk about the 4 reasons why, you might be facing abdominal fat and why it might be difficult to eliminate. And it all boils down to this really pesky, sneaky hormone called leptin. And when leptin goes awry, we run into a lot of issues. And so we're going to talk about that today. And then I'm going to talk about maybe these 6 ways that you can actually start influencing your life in a more positive way and mitigate leptin resistance, and even give you some dietary and lifestyle advice. So without further ado, let's jump into this. By the way, I want to keep these presentations. My goal is to go no more than 15 minutes. But I get verbose sometimes because I just get really excited and I want to help people. So here we go. Let's jump into leptin resistance and how it's all formed, right? So you can watch me on YouTube. I'm streaming live on YouTube and Facebook as well as Twitter, and I've got slides up. And so if you want to watch that, I'm also on TikTok as well, if that's just a better platform for you. So we're going to talk about, again, if you're just jumping on live, we're talking about the 4 reasons why people run into this. And the big reason is they might be leptin resistant. So let's dive into that. What is leptin in the first place? So first of all, leptin is a hormone, and it regulates your hunger, your appetite, your satiety. It tells the brain, hey, I'm full, I'm good, and I don't need to continue to eat. And so what happens though is, for a lot of people that eventually develop leptin resistance, the big problem is their brain gets flooded with leptin. And here's the interesting thing that I always find really interesting. People that are obese actually make more leptin, which you would think would be the opposite. If you're obese, you should be actually leptin sensitive. You should be, your body should be telling you, I'm full, I have plenty of fat cells. But it doesn't work that way. It actually down regulates leptin, and the brain no longer gets the message. It keeps getting the message that, hey, we're not getting enough leptin. Actually, that's what is happening. So the brain's actually being told, we are actually not getting enough, and send more. We need more food. It's not getting into that. I'm not getting that response from the hypothalamus. And so what's interesting too is that leptin is more than what we just think of just as a hormone and weight loss. It actually, there's this pituitary connection. And what we've seen is it actually affects female hormones a lot. And so if you're having issues, maybe getting pregnant or something like that, there's fertility issues, you may want to look at leptin. They actually did studies where they were able to show that if they induced leptin on rats, they were able to introduce puberty very rapidly. So it is a powerful hormone. And it's not just again, we always think of just calories in, calories out, and it's so much more than that, guys. So if you become leptin resistant, which that's what we're talking about, leptin's a powerful hormone. It controls satiety. It tells your brain, I am full. I no longer need to eat. But when you become resistant, you're no longer getting that signal. The brain it's getting blocked. And so it makes it really difficult to lose weight because the brain still thinks that you're starving. The other bad thing is it actually reduces your metabolism. It actually reduces your ability to burn fat. That's a problem if you're trying to lose weight, right? So some of the reasons this can even happen is, a big one is inflammation, and a lot of problems in the gut, abnormalities in the gut and your microbiome can actually contribute to leptin resistance. Okay, so let's talk about the 4 big culprits. I'm going to give those to you now, and then we're going to come up with some solutions. All right, so here is number 1, sugar. I know you didn't want me to tell you that. I know you're like, yeah, sugar. I don't want to eliminate it. Why did he have to say that? But guys, I'm sorry. It just is what it is. They did a study. The Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry did a study, and it shows it gave people liquid fructose, which that's never a good idea, by the way. But it quickly led to this hypothalamus, which we were talking about, this hypothalamic resistance, and developed this excess of visceral fat. Okay. So you've got to cut down your sugar intake. And a lot of us are trying, we're doing these good things. We think we're adding agave nectar. I was just on a podcast the other day talking about agave nectar, and it's terrible for you. It's high in fructose. Like, why would you do that? We have been told by the paleo community and some of these other brands, it's a natural sugar. It's good for you. No, it's not. By the way, there's 3 good sugars that I could recommend. Allulose is one, stevia is another, and I would say monk fruit it'd be in the next one. So if you're going to do any of those 3, do that. There you go, right there. You can just make a quick swap. The second big thing that could be causing you to be leptin resistant and screw up your satiety hormones is gluten. They did the Journal of BMC Chemistry found that digested gluten could literally block the ability for leptin to bind to leptin receptors. Now, obviously, this was dose dependent, okay? But the amount of gluten eaten in a typical meal of like bread or pasta was found to reduce leptin binding by up to 50%, guys. Not only that, we've seen from past studies things like zonulin, which is a protein that tears apart your gut walls, the integrity of your gut walls, and it actually it's actually a form of leaky gut. And these zonulin proteins are found in gluten, and so that could be a big driver of leaky gut. So we talk about the inflammation and the abnormalities in the microbiome. You want to be very careful about this and how much gluten you're inputting. The third big one is alcohol. Okay, in the Journal of Clinical, and I'm throwing all these journals out because I want to show you guys, this isn't just me rambling. Like these are peer reviewed. These are some journals here that are showing this, and it showed that moderate intake of alcohol has an inhibitory effect of leptin. Okay. And we all know this, that most of us, when we drink, we tend to overeat, right? We get in a state or a stage where everything's feeling good and we just make poor food choices. Let's face it. Alcohol knocks down that prefrontal cortex and you don't know what you're doing. That's that executive functioning of your brain. And you just you're not thinking, right? You're doing things that you probably shouldn't be doing. We've all been there. I've been there at 2 a.m. at the IHOP or, getting some pizza and slamming down some noodles or something like that. Not a good decision. So watch out for alcohol. And then the fourth big one is sleep. That's a huge lifestyle one. Nobody wants to address it. I'm so happy I'm addressing this because I just dropped a podcast. For those of you that are just tuning in, don't know, I have an amazing podcast called the Hacked Life Podcast. Had some amazing guests on there, Dave Asprey, Dr. Robert Rowan, Dr. Jay Quesh, a lot of good people. But I just interviewed a sleep expert, Molly McLaughlin, and we were talking about this and how sleep affects weight loss. Sleep, I know I had a continuous glucose monitor on my arm for the last 14 days. And I was able to see my glucose not coming down after going to bed later. Really fascinating stuff. So we know that that's a huge issue, but none of us want to take the control and realize that sleep is a skill and we need to prioritize it. So at Stanford University, they found insufficient sleep actually reduced levels of the satiety hormone leptin, which we've been talking about today, and increased hormones of ghrelin. Ghrelin is directly related to hunger. So ghrelin, they work on opposite. Ghrelin saying, I'm hungry, feed me. That's that, I was thinking of like the gremlins and ghrelin in your gut. And then leptin is saying, hey, I'm full. So there's this leptin ghrelin, they work in tandem, right? And huge increase in ghrelin. I think also with sleep, let's talk about that prefrontal cortex briefly. But again, it goes back to, they've shown in various studies, 5.5 hours of sleep continuously, like even just after 2 to 3 days, we see the prefrontal cortex, it just becomes downregulated, which is your decision-making part of your brain. And if that's not working as well, then can you imagine you might be making some bad food choices? Not to mention at the hormonal level, you're really being affected. So that has also shown an increase in BMI. Okay, so those are the 4 things. Let's talk about ways you can do a leptin reset. Now, a lot of this information I'm getting from Dr. Jack Kruse's book called Epi Paleo. I really like this book. It's just a classic. And he's really talks about quantum biology and chronobiology, and how important it is to get out in the sun, and how really sun, magnetism, and water is much more important than all the health gurus are talking about. But he did a Leptin Reset diet and found it very effective with his patients. And so I want to share that with you. It's not too long. There's about 6 steps, so stay tuned. Step 1, eat as soon as possible in the morning. Ideally within the first 30 minutes of waking. Okay. Why? Because what happens is there's this chronobiology like we're talking about, and it helps with this tuning your body into the biology of the earth, the sun, and when you're waking up. And so it tunes you into that. We want to have a breakfast that's very little in carbs, probably no less than 50 grams. I don't see why you just couldn't do zero. I mean, more or less, right? Maybe you have a protein shake, there's some carbs in there, some kind of smoothie like that. That's fine. But really think about getting more protein in. I'd be thinking about fat and protein. Think about those rich, something like eggs, or even you can have some leftovers, some steak or something like that. But you really want to go high protein, finding out more and more about this and how important, especially as we age. We really need to get our protein intake up, and many of us don't. And that's going to cause loss of muscle mass, which is a huge predictor of longevity and, us atrophying as we get older as adults. So 50 to 75 grams of protein. That's going to be ideal. That's going to be kind of tough for a lot of us, but that's where we're going, right? That's what we want to think about. And then from there, you want to go at least 4 to 5 hours without eating. Okay, so have that break in between meals. That's the biggest thing. We're constantly grazing as humans. We're constantly in this snacking mindset. I need to eat 6 meals a day. No, you don't. If you're hungry between 3 to 4 hours between a meal, it means you probably didn't get enough protein. And that's protein. There's peptides in protein. I believe it's peptide YY. And that actually tells the brain, I am satiated. And there's a lot of that. So we want that. So protein is a great mechanism for that and building lean muscle, as well as women. I was just interviewing I call these people doctors, Kristen Weitzel. She's from Warrior Woman Mode. She's amazing. She helps women regulate their hormones based on their workouts, and she's just a beast. But we were talking about that and how women don't get enough protein in their diet right now. And she's finding that in her own clients, it's a huge problem. And especially, again, as we age, that's what we want. We want to be thinking about getting that more protein in our diet so that we can retain some muscle mass. So eat breakfast again as soon as close to rising, right? So you can kind of re-yoke your circadian rhythms. Number 2, I kind of mentioned this, but limit your carbs to 25 grams. At least in the beginning, okay? This doesn't need to be forever, right? These hardcore keto people, I think they're doing it all wrong. I think, this 25 grams or less thing, it's just ridiculous. It's just getting too much. But for you, if you're obese, if you have 30 more pounds to lose, you want to think about that. And I think it's just for a temporary amount of time. Now, if you're getting enough protein and you're getting enough fat, but protein being the biggest macro that you want to focus on, if you're getting enough of that, you're going to be doing quite well. You're going to feel satiated. You're not going to feel the need for all these carbs, okay? I think you can really do that, the 25 grams. And again, it doesn't need to be temporary. Do it for like 3 weeks. Do it for just 1 week. See what happens. So step 2, limit your carbs, right? Step 3, stop snacking. Okay, stop snacking. I mentioned that already. Eat 3 meals a day. That's what you want to do. Switch to that. If your hunger and cravings fade, you can go to 2 meals a day. But I think 3 meals a day is solid. So just stick to the 3 meals a day. You'll be really good. Okay. And then don't work out before breakfast. And the reason is this: I think a lot of people try to work out, but this is what Dr. Cruz found. And there's 2 different theories on this. But if you're going to do a light workout, that's fine. We don't want to spike cortisol. Okay. Cortisol is already high. Cortisol is your stress hormone. Cortisol helps you get up and go. It produces adrenaline. So cortisol is saying, hey, time to wake up, buddy. And so you see this spike in cortisol. What happens for people that are healthy and balanced bodies is, guess what? At nighttime, cortisol drops, which we want it to do. We want it to wake up in the morning. So it's natural that it's already going to wake up, but we don't want to drive it higher by working out and stressing out the body. This causes something known as the pregnenolone steal syndrome, okay? This can lead to adrenal fatigue. It can cause your sex steroid hormones to just tank, and that can worsen your body composition, right? So work out though before 5 p.m. I think that's a great idea to stimulate fat burning. And that's not also going to raise anything, before you're going to sleep, and you actually need to down regulate. Additional considerations, something else you can consider is make sure your vitamin D3 uptake is high, and high levels of fish oil. I'm not a huge proponent of a lot of fish oils. I think a lot of them are inflammatory, but, I try to just get it a lot from food, grass-fed meats, and then just seafood, sardines, things like that. I think that's a really good way. But if you have to, we get it. You got to supplement with some of these, that's what they're for, supplements. You're not getting enough. And we've seen just on lab tests that if you can get your omega-3s up higher, inflammation drops. It can help regulate hormones and a whole host of things. I've used omega-3s to help women with just estrogen dominance, and even men, right, with testosterone and stuff. So omega-3s they're more than just these fatty free acids that help with immune function, but they also help regulate with sleep and hormones. So you do want to think about that. And then vitamin D3 is also a hormone. Obviously, the best way to get it is going outside. We saw from the pandemic that people that had high levels of vitamin D, they were able to avoid the cytokine storm that many face. So if you can increase your vitamin D to levels of 60 to 1, I believe 60 to 80 is where you want to end up. Now, if you look at the recommended dosage for most people, that recommended dosage for vitamin D3 is like they want normal is like 25 to 40, but we're not seeing the levels of being able to beat cytokine storms and avoid cancer and all these things. That's coming in the higher levels of 60 to 80. At the end of the day, go outside, take off your shirt, and do that for 20 minutes a day. Get some vitamin D on your skin. It's going to be really good. Here's the last couple things, guys, and then we'll wrap it up. Signs that you're becoming leptin sensitive. It could take about 4 to 6 weeks, so be patient. Men, you're going to notice a lot of quick weight loss for sure. Women, you're probably going to notice some mood changes, and you're probably going to feel calmer. You're probably going to be more sleepy when you go to bed, and everything else is going to improve. And you may even notice a sweating change in pattern, right? Because we are affecting the thyroid and that hypothalamus that we were talking about, which is going to help regulate metabolism. So you might notice even maybe improved sweating, better recovery, obviously, better energy, and your hunger should start to go away, and your cravings should start to go away, and they should start to rebalance. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. This was all on leptin and leptin resistance. This is all going to get posted on my YouTube channel as well as my Facebook group. If you guys have questions or you want to learn more or you want to work one-on-one with me in health coaching, I do that. I have some really cool programs out there where I work one-on-one with people for 3 months. We're seeing amazing results. People are losing 20 to 30 pounds, kind of depending where they're at. And it's really about it being a sticky program. I believe that when you are healthy and you lose weight, you have more self-confidence, you have more self-esteem, you go out and crush your goals, you go out and crush the world. And I've said that over and over again, and you know it's true. And so if I can be of help to you and you can have more impact in the world, that's what I want to do. Feel free to DM me at Joel Evan Coaching or shoot me an email, info@joelevancoaching.com. Guys, happy Wednesday. Have an amazing rest of your week.